You all to the December board meeting. It's nice to see you all here, but the bad news is you're not out shopping for my Christmas gifts, so probably have time later. We appreciate that. Pledge of allegiance with me, if you would, please. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have proxies this evening.
So the first proxy here is for Pat Lowry as provided proxy to Bruce Portillo. That's the only one that I have.
That's the one we have this evening. Celebrating success we're going to entertain next. Good part of the evening.
Carmen, Rick, when you come up.
How you doing? Great.
And Roxy, come on up.
She's shy.
No.
Up here, guys.
Okay.
We'll let Rick go first.
Good evening. The RV storage resurfacing project was recently completed. Roxy here handled all customer issues and ensured that the move out and in went as smoothly as possible. She was largely responsible for the new layout that will maximize our revenue going forward. She was quick to respond to customer concerns about credit for time spent outside the enclosure. She even issued new spaces and made sure that the customers had new information long before the project was complete. Her forethought prevented us from having to have a person on site for member services to check people in. All of the feedback that I've received about how Roxy has handled the project has been positive. I know this is part of her job, but I feel like she has done way more than could have been expected and therefore is deserving of celebrating success. She went above and beyond on this project. It ran so smoothly you could imagine how much work this project was getting 370 RVers moved out then back in. Excellent work.
Bless you. Thank you. She did a good job.
Next we have Mike West and Vaughn Smith. You two can come forward, please, along with Alex.
Do it, Alex. Do it.
So some of you may have heard, but on November 21st, the day before Thanksgiving, there was an accident out at the Highlands, near the Highlands. An individual lost control of their vehicle. The vehicle went down a steep ravine about 30 feet in the ravine near the Highlands, and the worst was feared when that accident occurred. Vaughn Smith, our full-time golf shop employee, was in the Highlands shop that day when a call came in. The first responders were asking for a place to land the air evac helicopter. They needed to land in the cell tower parking lot next to the 18th tee. Acting quickly, Vaughn and our outside employee, Mike West, sped out to the lot, cleared it, and blocked it off in preparation for the landing. Minutes went by and the helicopter was eventually called off. The person had not suffered the life-threatening injuries that were initially feared. However, we would like to recognize Vaughn Smith and Mike West for their quick and decisive efforts in providing a place for the air evac helicopter. So thank you guys for your service.
Okay, that's always a special part of our day because we do appreciate the success of our employees. Next up are approval of minutes for the work session on November 8th.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the November 8th, 2018 board work session meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? I'll entertain a motion for to approve the November 15, 2018 Board of Directors regular meeting minutes.
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Okay, the financial report for this evening will be no report because it's a week early, and the financial report will be posted on the website just as soon as it's been completed. Last month's open forum, we had 13 members speak. Most of it was on trails and budget concerns. However, there were 2 non-property owners that spoke. Their remarks will be stricken from the minutes, and we ask that that not happen again. So at that time, we're going to open forum tonight, and I have 2 people that have signed up. Bill King. And please state your name, your location of your property, and remember 3 minutes if you can, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And help yourself to a cookie when you leave.
I'll leave it back to us.
I'm sorry.
First time, Bill, isn't it?
My name is Bill King. I live at number 3 Iona Circle, and I'd like to talk about the Vista POA golf cart handicap policy. I come with props. So if you take one and pass them down. Yep. Okay, at last month's golf committee meeting, I suggested that the new handicap golfer program be open to elder golfers with limited liability. At this month's meeting, the idea was rejected. Tom Judson stated that the handicap flags are dedicated by special license on golfers' cars. Further, he stated that he didn't want the pro shop staff to have to make medical decisions on whether or not someone had the mobility to be eligible for one, all of which is understandable. Finally, he said that if older golfers want the same privileges, they can ask their doctor to help them get handicap plates to put on their vehicle. For the older golfer that is not handicapped, but is slowing down a little bit, to me that's a little bit of some hoops to have to jump through. So I propose, since it's a board of directors program, that the board of directors revise that program to include senior golfers. As part of the package, you have a 2-page handout there, and in red are the changes that I recommend. It starts off, of course, with a name change. We're going to call it the Handicap Senior Golf Cart Program, and everything in black is in your existing policy. Everything in red is recommended changes. We're going to include that we also recognize that some senior golfers, 80 years and older, could benefit from the similar accommodations given to the handicapped golfer. That the flags will be issued to those individuals eligible to participate in checking in at the pro shop, but only after their eligibility has been verified. The criteria for the handicapped golfer remains the same as listed in the current policy, but included and added to that is that in the case of a senior golfer, a flag may be requested by any golfer 80 years or older when checking in at the pro shop. The golfer is required to present a valid photo ID, for example, a state-issued driver's license, listing the individual's date of birth as verification of their eligibility for the program. And then the rest of it is just where the existing policy says handicapped cart privileges. For example, I included senior in that. I think that it's been estimated that there are currently about 15 handicapped golfers eligible for this program. That's not a large number. and I don't know how many golfers are above the age of 80. So what I did is I took the number of seat leases and the number of private cars registered in 2017. They amount to 699. I took 10% of that. So about an additional 70 golfers. So you're going to have less than 100 people that could be eligible for this. I think that such a program would encourage more senior golfers to play. They'd have more enjoyment playing golf with their friends. The POA is concerned about the number of rounds decreasing. This may help improve that number a little bit. And more revenue would come into the POA as the number of rounds increase. So it's a win-win for everybody. On the back side of the second page, there's 4 questions I asked that you answer yourself. Will the proposed revision benefit any POA member? It's yes or no. Will the proposed revision harm any POA member? Again, it's a yes or no. Will the proposed revisions damage the golf courses? Yes or no. And will additional costs be incurred by the proposed revision? My answer to that is no, because you've already got the flags. So I respectfully ask that the board consider this. I think it's something that can help the senior golfers. Hopefully, I reach the age of 80. If I'm fortunate enough to do that, hopefully I'm able to play golf. If I'm able to do that, I'll have been a member of the POA and a golfer for 25 years. I think that when you reach that milestone of 80 years old and you're still out there hitting that little white ball, a little consideration is not unwarranted. Thank you. Oh, one last note on your current policy. There needs to be a clarification of regulation number 4, which states handicap golf privileges are extended only to players who are physically challenged and not to the additional rider. So my question to the board is, if you're riding with a guy with a blue flag, does he have to stop prior to getting too close to the green for you to get out? Okay, that's... Thank you.
No, on number 4,
Yes.
what we're saying is that, you know, if one with a handicap flag and the other one does not,
Right.
you would be able to go onto the golf course for the person that has the flag,
Correct.
but not for the person that doesn't. So maybe...
So you're going to drop them off on the cart path somewhere.
No, that's not what we're saying.
That's what it says.
That's how you're reading it. So what I'm saying is...
How does it not read then?
Let me finish. So let's say the one gentleman or one player outdrives the other player by 100 yards. Okay. The one with a handicap, they would potentially both drive over and take care of the person with the handicap flag. They go back to the car path because they're following the 90 degree rule. And when they get to the gentleman or the player that does not have the flag, then that person would have to walk over. I don't have a problem. We could probably describe it a little bit.
The only thing the handicap thing really does is allow you to get within 30 feet of a green.
It also allows you to do 90-degree rule.
Well, you get 90-degree rule when the 90-degree rule is in effect. If cart paths only in effect, the blue flags do not apply.
So then let me change my example. Let's say the one golfer hits the ball to the right of the green and the other golfer hits the ball to the left of the green. Okay? They would be able to drive within 30 feet of the one ball, but not of the other ball.
Well, if both golfers hit the ball on the green and you're allowed to get within 30 feet of the green,
then they would
does that
drive.
mean that the one guy's got to get off 50 yards back and walk out?
They would be able to drive together.
Okay, very good.
And let me make one.
Clarify.
Let me make one additional comment. You used the word that we rejected it. Actually, what we talked about is this is a new program, the handicap system. It's a new program. It's only been in place a couple months. We talked about that we wanted to give it a try. The golf committee did. because we want to balance. What we're trying to do is, I've had experience at other golf courses that had very laxed handicap rules, and they had carts going all over the place, and it was causing additional damage and rutting on the golf course, which was negatively impacting the golf course conditions. What we're trying to do is strike the delicate balance between the two. I think your idea has some merit, and a lot of people on the golf committee also feel that your idea has merit, but we want to see how. Let's give the first, let me finish, let's give this a try. This has only been into effect for a few months. Let's give it a try, and if it's not excessive, which right now it's not because only 15 flags have been issued, then we may expand it.
Well, I felt the idea was rejected because the committee said that, no, we're not going to consider it. So to me, that's a rejection. But I understand that it's a new program. You're not talking that many people. So I urge the board to consider cutting these guys that are 80 years old, or ladies, they're 80 years old. Cut them slack and let them do the exact same thing without having to jump through the hoops of trying to claim that they're handicapped. Well, they're not. I talked to Jay Brown about this. He's 84 years old. He'd love to participate in something like this. Dennis Rembold's 90 years old. I play with him frequently. He's playing off the piffs. He'd like to participate in it. Gerald Swope, he'd like to be able to have something like this made available to him, because it makes the round go a little easier for them. That's all they're asking. That's all I'm asking for on their behalf. Thank you.
Yeah, Bill, I've got some real empathy because I played in that particular league and know Jay and know several of the guys. And your league does have more guys in their 80s. Our league has one currently, and we've got several about 78 or 79. And did you attend the golf committee meeting when this was discussed?
Yes.
Okay, good. Good. And I'm glad to hear you tonight rather than in writing so much. And I really appreciate you coming here.
Okay, well, please consider it. I think it would be something that would be helpful.
Thank you. The other person I have on my list is Joey Sawyer.
I think that,
I'm not on the list, but can I speak? I am POA. I'm Serena Angeloni, and I live at number 1 Dula Circle. I also have a licensed in-home preschool. And I am within a half mile of the stump dump. I have a couple of concerns. For one, on the agenda tonight, and this wasn't even on my list, but it says, let's see, you guys have named the trails 10 times, give or take 1 or 2, on tonight's stuff, and the stump dump once. The stump dump's been going on the fire has been going on for 4 months. It's a city problem. Did I hear someone just say that? Okay, well, I also have in here that says that this is not a city problem. That is on your info from the city, if you want to turn to that page. It says it's not, the city is not in charge here.
What page are you on?
From the letter from the mayor,
Okay.
35. Second paragraph at the next sentence. So my concern is that if the POA actually ran the stump dump previous, who would really be liable for what is going on there? Because I know that I have an in-home air meter that filters out the air, and if it goes over 50, the children need to be wearing some type of mask. So inside my house, when it's reading 50, there's a problem. Last weekend, it was reading 102. So that is my concern. Like, why is the stump dump not all over this? And the trails are 10 to 15 times previous and on the agenda tonight. And only thing you guys have on here is a memo stating that you're going to approve funds for a new stump dump to do it right? I don't understand that.
I'm not sure.
On this here, it says update stump dump, page 33.
Last month's minutes.
That's minutes before.
Okay, and on the agenda tonight.
Agenda tonight, we're going to.
Ma'am,
Uh-huh.
on the agenda, on,
It says clarification.
it talks about, yes, there are a lot of comments about trails, but those are member comments. When you come, you're up right here.
Oh, okay.
So next month, you're going to see your name as last month's open forum comments and questions. You'll see your name and that you were bringing up the issue that you're bringing up. So all these.
So if a member doesn't come and make a statement about a problem, then you guys don't discuss it?
No, we're going to update the stump dump under new business tonight.
But this is going on 4 months.
Okay,
This is
so-
what was my concern.
So-
And the only thing I do see is approval, what's this, an approval for new sites for a stump dump?
So if you go through the minutes from last month and the previous month, and those are, the one for last month is actually in the packet here. The one for the previous months are on the website of the POA.
Okay.
You'll see that we've provided updates every single month at this meeting regarding the stump dump. But these comments, all these references to the trail are as a result of comments and questions
Okay.
from people that came, residents that
Okay,
came.
then I apologize for.
No, I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, thank you. But so are we pulling $44,000 from the POA to come up with a solution to do something right? What's this? Did I misunderstood that?
Yes.
I did? Okay. Well, how did I misunderstand it then, please? For the 2019 budget?
Okay, so.
Is that just like a vote or?
Okay, so in
I'm
last.
sorry, this is my first meeting, and we're probably way out of whack. but-
So, that's right. So, at last month's meeting, we gave an update. What I could do is, if I get your email address, what I could do is I could send you the memo that we went over last month. And it would go over in detail, but yes, we are going to be spending money, but not regarding the Trafalgar Road fire.
But why isn't that? That's my bottom question. Why would that be?
So the Trafalgar Road fire, the POA's never owned that property. It was leased from initially Blue Mountain Storage.
I'm aware.
And then the stump dump was closed, and the lease was terminated. And then Blue Mountain Storage sold the property to, as you know, Brown's Tree Service. And what they've been doing with the property over the last year to 18 months, we don't know, but they're...
Didn't they buy it at the beginning of like April or something? Or is that just a room?
I believe they purchased it before that.
I think it was January.
So
This
it's
year.
not 18 months, first of the year?
Okay. And when the fire department got called out there, that's when they noticed the fire was burning in July. So the POA doesn't feel like POA didn't start the fire. It's on private property owned by Brown's Tree Reserve. We don't have the authority or the expertise to do anything about it.
Okay, but do we not have an obligation to take care of the community around it that's being suffered by when? Are you implying that the Brown's Tree put everything in the ground and that's their responsibility? Because if that's the case, I understand that. But if there's people that are suffering and kids can't go outside and play, should we not be investing on taking care of that solution?
Our position is that Brown's Tree Service purchased the property with those risks in mind, knowing what was buried there, and by creating the hazard, starting the fire, they're the ones that are responsible for it. Again, we don't have the expertise or the know-how to do it.
So we did run a legit stump dump, you guys did prior, right?
From 2003 to 2016,
We had permits and everything to run it
we
correctly.
did not have permits.
And we're not required then to have one?
We'll have an update later on today, but yes, if we open another stump dump, it would require permitting from the ADEQ, yes.
And then we have not been cited, you guys at POA has not been in trouble for the environmental issue from the no?
We have not. We have received notification from ADEQ that the previous stump dumps that were closed have to be officially closed by ADEQ. So we're going through that process now with them of closing, officially closed. They've been closed for a number of years, but ADEQ has to sign off and say they were closed appropriately at the time.
And so that's where the funds are going, to close them properly? Is that what?
Some of the funds are earmarked for that. More other funds are earmarked for a potential mulching operation instead of a stump dump. Again, the permitting process for a stump dump is much longer, much more expensive. So I think
there's so much rumors going around, and I'm just curious who's going to be helping out the situation when we're spending a lot of money elsewhere, and then there's a lot of people that's not even able to go outside in certain parts of Bella Vista. It's my biggest concern.
One thing I encourage everybody to do is, the city has been doing a very good job on their web page. On their home page, there's a section to the bottom right where you can click and you can get updates. And actually, I click on that several times a day. So you are correct in your statement. There is a lot of false information out there. So I encourage you to go to the city's website because in my opinion, they're doing a pretty good job of keeping the community informed as to what's going on.
So if I was to show you a piece of paper that somebody used email documentation that states the POA, we're not the POA, in an email, that would mean that it's fake news?
I don't know. All I can say is, even according to what the mayor has said in his statement, there's a lot of false information out there.
Okay.
Yeah, there's probably some very valid information out there, but there's also some false information out there. So if you go to the city's website, I think you can feel very well assured that the information that you're going to get is accurate and is current. I mean, they've been posting information almost daily to keep the community up to speed on what's going on.
Okay. So it's a Brown Street problem and not a POA problem that our kids can't go outside?
Well, even in the mayor's memo on the third paragraph, it says that the property owner has primary responsibility for fixing this situation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Joy Sawyer.
So I guess I'm going to refer to the same page 33 on the update on the stump dump. Oh, I'm on Dale Drive. But just met my neighbor, that's kind of cool. So we've entered into an agreement with FTN Engineering to investigate the old stump dump sites. Does that include Trafalgar?
It's just not. Let me make it very clear. Because there is an older site that closed 23 years ago that is off of Trafalgar also. Okay, so when you say Trafalgar, I assume where the fire is. Just want to make sure we're clear on that. Know that the FTN study does not include that.
Okay, all right. So the money that the governor just appropriated for investigating how to get rid of it, it's not in this money. We won't be able to access that money because it's not that fire. That's what I was asking.
No.
It's not that. Does that make sense?
Okay, so the funds, well, first of all, there have been news reports that I just read, but there is nothing on the city's website just yet regarding the funds, and it doesn't say how much, but it does say that it's for engineering work only at this time, and they're using the money to develop plans and to develop a cost estimate on how much it's going to cost to put out the Trafalgar Road fire.
Right, okay. So I think one of the things that was brought up at the city meeting the other night that I thought was probably better addressed here at this meeting regarding that is if they decide that excavation is what we have to do, and I would rather it just be gone, you know what I mean? I live there, I'm smelling it, I have asthma also, as somebody stated at the meeting the other night, and I can tell when the air quality's bad. I don't have to have a meter. I have a meter in here. So they talk about the excavation, you know, of the stump dump, and how for a period of time while they're doing that, you know, the air will be, I mean, it is going to be toxic because it's already toxic, right? So is there something that the POA can do to work with the churches and the thing around to provide a place for people to go while that's being done? I mean, because I'm like her. When I'm in my house, I can still smell it. And, you know, when I'm waking up in the middle of the night with nosebleeds and stuff like that, that's only, you know, I having to do inhalers, I know that. So I just, as a community, you know, I'm just wondering what we can do for if they start an excavation process. And I know this is preemptive, but you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Those children aren't going to be able to go to that daycare during that time period. I mean, you know what I'm saying? They're not going to be able to be there.
I think it's premature. I mean, I think the frustrating part is that we want to everybody wants to make sure that they do it the right way, but doing it the right way can take time to develop the plans.
Right.
And so I don't, you know, as you just referenced, I don't think it's smart to get too far ahead of ourselves just yet, because we don't know what the final plans are going to be as to whether, you know, because the report that was also on the city's website was from the fire expert talking about the 3 different options, and so the excavating out was one, but the inert gas was another, and using foam was another. And it actually, I thought that the report did a pretty good job of talking about the pros and cons of each method. But I think it's best that we...
I just wondered if y'all had talked about it, because we don't want to be like rushing around. You know what I mean? Like, oh, what are we going to do with all these people? Does that make sense?
Okay, I agree.
So I just wondered if y'all kind of thought about what... Or if you would just begin to kind of talk about what would a plan look like? What would we, I mean, you know, what would we do? Fortunately, we're very happy with our house, but nobody on our street, I don't think, is going to be able to sell a house for a while. So, you know, I'm just wondering, we want whatever happens, and I know maybe you're not responsible, but to be our voice, we want whatever happens to be a permanent solution because of our property values. So we don't want a Band-Aid. And so we're asking for you guys to speak for us when you're dealing with the city and with Browns and with whoever, to say, hey, you know what, no, that sounds like a Band-Aid, and we don't want a Band-Aid. You know, because we don't, I mean, you know, it's not healthy for anybody.
Yeah. And I can tell you this is, I've been speaking with the mayor on a daily basis with him regarding this. We've had multiple meetings. We've met, you know, last Thursday we met with for lack of a better term, a concerned citizens group or representatives of that. And we're actually meeting again tomorrow with the same group, not the mayor. The mayor's out of town. So, you know, we're trying to make sure that we stay involved and knowledgeable as to what's going on.
Right. Well, I just wanted to formally ask on behalf of everybody that lives within a half mile of that smell, that you guys think about as you're planning with them, number one, not to give us a Band-Aid, because our property, that will help property values in our area, and number two, that we think about how it's going to affect the property owners in the area, and are we going to really seriously need to move out of our houses for 30 days. You see what I'm saying? If they're going to excavate it, I don't see any of us hanging around, because if the smell's worse than it was last weekend, you know, I mean, it was bad. if y'all didn't drive over by there, you should sometime. It's
Well,
lovely.
the fire report, they didn't sugarcoat it, that's for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, they were
right.
very blunt, very
Right.
honest, and I appreciate that. Because we want to be, honest and make sure that that's the route that the experts select. We want to make sure that the experts are doing the selecting.
Right.
Then we want to make sure that we understand what the impact's going to be.
Right, okay. And so I'm just gonna throw a trail thing at you, because I'm standing here. So it just wouldn't be a board meeting, would it, without me asking about that? So I do, and I think I've told y'all this before, I have family that uses the trails, that don't live in Bella Vista. They don't own property here, they use the trails. I know that they help maintain the trails, and I know that they're very involved in that, actually. And so I personally am not against having trails, and so I want to clear that up. But what I just feel like with all of the dissension, that we should have a vote, and I don't understand why the board is so against putting it to the people. I mean, you guys have had a lot of people show up, at meetings to support the trails, and so I just wonder why. Because I've asked that question several times and it's not ever been answered.
Well, I'll answer
Just
right now.
why not have a vote?
Well, I think two reasons. First of all, and we've referenced this at the other meetings, that there were a tremendous number of meetings that took place, articles that were written, information that was gathered over a multi-year period regarding the trails. So we feel that there was a lot of community involvement. I also think, I'll use the phrase, you can't unring a bell.
Well, I think that when you did all of that maybe people didn't realize how close these trails, how many there were going to be in the end, because I understand we're in phase 2, now we're talking already about phase 3. And people didn't realize, hey, those are going to come through my yard, or not going to come through the yard, but I live on common property, with common property behind me. I enjoy the deer. We have a family, of deer that we watch the babies grow, and now they're, coming through and they're having babies, and, it's just such a, and so I get it. I get why people are upset. And so now that we're kind of at a place where people see the whole picture, why not just say, hey, we think the community's for it, we think it's good for the community, just to quiet the crowd. Why not just now have a vote?
I don't think you can turn back the hands of time. And I don't think we're going to agree on that point. There was an article in a quarterly publication that goes to every single resident that was sent out in March of 16 that showed all 150 miles worth of trails. That's assuming that
but it didn't show like this is your address and we're going to be. I wouldn't think that it would be that exact if you're going to put it in a magazine. But
it put the community on notice what the overall plan is. What I'd like to also do, and I think Lynn pointed this out in one of our articles about 2 weeks ago. I'd like to point out some of the great benefits. I've been told by some of the trail builders that they've already pulled out 150 old tires out of our valleys. They're removing a tremendous amount of litter and junk that is in our valleys.
But they're displacing our wildlife at the same time. So, squirrels may live in those, I'm just saying.
Joy, you can have my deer, because my wife complained about them eating our roses all the time. So
I like to watch them, they jump our fence, they run around in our yard. I like to watch them, my dogs chase them off.
Okay.
But anyway.
Unfortunately, our 3 minutes flew by a long time ago.
Everybody's 3 minutes flew by a long
It's
time
the
ago.
Christmas spirits, and I remember that. This is the Christmas
I
spirit.
just wanted to,
I understand.
yeah, I just think that it's wrong to take away people's privacy
Thank you.
without a vote.
Well, let me comment extremely briefly, okay?
We didn't build the golf courses, we didn't build the lakes, we didn't build much of anything here. We had a benefactor by the name of Cooper Communities who built most of these amenities, and now we charge for most of them. And we did build a replacement to a little tennis shack, we the POA, about 10 years ago. And that's the only building we've really built in 50 years. And we also had a benefactor build these trails for us. And yeah, we will maintain them, and there'll be a cost to that, but it'll be an amenity for the community. I don't get to play tennis anymore because of my back, but I'm glad we have it. I do walk the trails, I do hike the trails, I do go to Reardon Hall, I do work out, I play golf, I use most of the amenities, I kayak on the lakes, but I think they're a wonderful amenity, and I have supported them consistently in my long time here.
Any others? Yes,
I did not sign up, I asked.
go ahead. You state your name and your residence. It's close to 3 minutes.
I would do it quickly, it's a quick question. My name is Sherry Fawn, I live at 10 Marianne Lane. Been very concerned about the fire since July 29th when I first reported it at the stump dump that was operated at one time under the lease. I would highly encourage the POA to look at what the insurance coverage was you had at that time while you were operating that without supervision every single time a vehicle came in and out and checking what they were putting in there and so on. So I think you guys need to look at what your liability is. If you can tell me what it is, I would have a feeling you probably can't after I've been around risk assessment things, but if you can tell me what our liability is, I would highly recommend that we do not become another landfill operator. I think it's a very complicated matter, and I think it's full of high risk, as you now see, the risk that we are experiencing, and I presume that eventually there will be some questions regarding culpability for operating an unpermitted landfill. So I highly recommend we don't do it again, and the ones that have been closed that you're talking about doing something to reopen to the tune of what, 2 engineering contracts at $23,000 and $100,000 contingency. I highly encourage us not to operate a landfill as a POA. I don't think that's our function.
And I can, Doug referenced earlier, we're not. In order to get the licensing, the permitting required to operate a stump dump or something of that nature, you called it a landfill, the permit process is 3 to 5 years.
Exactly, and we operated it without a permit, and that was a serious problem and has put us in a very, very bad situation. So I would not encourage us to spend money trying to figure out how to permit another stump dump.
We're not going to. We're not. So what we're talking about potentially doing only is a mulching operation, okay, which is
Again, I'm not sure that's the function of a POA. I just highly encourage you to consider risk assessment, because there are many things that involve risk that somebody might think is a good idea, but then it costs somebody in the end. And right now it's costing many, many of the residents who pay POA fees their lungs. By the way, the RVs that are sitting there with gas in them have made me concerned since July 29th. And as I understand it, some of the folks are being charged for moving their RVs to their driveways to keep them out of the smoke and out of the danger. That's another thing that may need to be looked into.
we're not charging anybody for moving in.
Okay, well, complaining that there are RVs in people's driveways that had been sitting there and were moved at the request of ADEQ, as I recall.
Yeah, that would be, I'm not trying to.
That ACC or something?
It's an ACC issue.
Okay.
It's not a POA.
All right, again, I'm concerned that we also be very careful what things we operate as quote businesses. Thank you.
Others? Okay, let's move on to joint advisory reports. Do we have a Lakes representative? Do we have a recreation representative? We do. You two can have a cookie when you're done.
My name is Debbie Sorensen, and I'm here for the Recreation Committee. And I'm just wanting to let you all know a couple things. We met last week, and that all the amenities that we really manage and help manage are really in great shape. The Welcome Club meet and greet for December was put on hold because the Bentonville School District closed and canceled their events, so we canceled ours. So it'll be January 12th, and we have about 55 people so far registered for January. The trails, one of the things that were discussed at our meeting is the fact that there is no private property being used for the new section, and I think that needs to be emphasized to the general public because I think a lot of the public doesn't understand that. But also, eventually, we would like to bring the trails under the rec committee. We discussed that, and we felt it would be appropriate to eventually bring it under and have a representative on the rec committee to work with that. December 15th, we met as a group. We have a subcommittee now that is working with a potential archery practice range, and they really felt that it would benefit people from age 8 to 80 or above. Current classes right now at Cooper Elementary do have archery classes, and the problem is that they're very limited to the size of the classes because it's all indoors. And they would love to have something outdoors. As Jerry organized this meeting, I thought it was very successful. And we're going to be doing a survey on the interest level of archery for Bella Vista, and we're going to go from there. And we'll be following up myself and another person on the subcommittee. 2 weeks ago, the gun range had the largest day ever, and November surpassed the 2017 revenue in total already. So the gun range has had a very, very successful year so far. We're looking at a possible disc golf class in the spring, and then maybe a summer camp this summer. There's been a lot more interest, and it's been very successful so far at Branchwood. And so we're looking at the spring camp for sure. Tai Chi class at Branchwood has been sold out. There are 31 people immediately and signed up, and so that class was immediately sold out. Ruth, I know that you applied and we've turned you down, so I'm sorry.
It's a bummer. It's a real bummer.
And lastly, at Branchwood, the activity room at Branchwood, I don't know if you all know, but there are birthday parties on the weekends, and in the month of December, it was sold out every weekend. So it's a little bit of revenue, but it's a good revenue source because the kids also go swimming. So that is my report for the day. Thank you.
We appreciate
Yep.
it. Golf, Philip.
I'm Phil Spencer, Vice Chair of the Golf Committee, and I live at 15 Rackwick Place on the number 15 Highlands. I will give a brief meeting on November the 14th since we didn't have a report last month. As most everyone knows, we do not have the APT tournament returning to the Highlands. Some of us are upset. Instead, it's going to be held June the 10th through the 15th at the Country Club. I hope they post the scores at the Highlands on their new school board out there. I'm sure they will drive out there to the scores. Work continues on the Country Club number 11 culvert. We also have work on number 2, I believe, with a new temporary green that may be fixed by now. I'm not sure. Since this was done in November, I'm reading notes. We've also have stopped the cart covers for economical reasons on the lease carts for the winter months. Now to our meeting in December. The warm price cold days seems to be going well for the golfers. Some of them I saw today out there, I don't know how. Golf Expo is now March the 5th from 5 to 7. We hope to get new players associated with each of these different groups. There will be no merchandise for sale at this as it has in the past. So don't go with the intention of buying something. Just sign up and play golf. The Golf Fest is to be determined once we get the vendor schedule in conjunction with our schedule here. We also would like just to remind all golfers to promote the 90-degree cart path, so we will have some grass next spring. I'm within 3 minutes, thank you.
We appreciate it.
You're a lot more than that.
Community involvement. It's a rough night, folks.
I'm Dylan Shackson, the co-secretary of the Community Involvement Committee, and we met the 1st of December on Thursday to collect all the coats, and we were going to count them, but there was way too many, and that's a good problem to have. Because last year we had 217, and as of Thanksgiving this weekend, I counted 329 in there, but we had a bunch after that. So I'm not sure what the exact number is, but it was a great turnout from the membership and everybody else. So I appreciate everyone that donated the coats, the beanies, the quilts that we got, and a lot of the beanies were self-made by a lady here in Bella Vista. And so it was pretty cool to see. So they were given to the local schools, as in Old High, Sugar Creek, Bentonville High School, Old High Middle School, and then we got to donate to the women's shelter and the DEV project, which takes care of foster families. And it worked out also because within that week, there is that thing online, the fight at the water tower, and they collected a lot of coats and food and other items for families that are less fortunate in the area. And they're donating to other charities. So it was really neat to see. So thank you. And thank you, David. Yes, Grab schools also. Thank you, David. So Grab Elementary and the middle school there. Because some Bella Vista kids go to Grab it, of course. So thank you, David, for being there that evening. And Mary Sinkus was there, and Mike I was there, and Kathy, an employee at the POA. I forgot where her exact position is, but she was usually at Word Hall. I think we pronounce her name Wilmoth. So thank you for being there, Kathy. But we won't have a meeting in January because of the holidays and everything going on. But overall, it was a successful coat drive, and I appreciate everyone that got the word out.
And on behalf of the entire community, we want to thank everybody that worked so hard to get it, because it is important to kids who are less fortunate and don't have the coats they need for the wintertime. Your group did a great job of soliciting and dividing up the coats and getting where they need to be. So thank you very much on behalf of all of us.
Thank you. One more thing. We'll be looking for a new co-chair in the month of February also. We had one member drop from the committee. And we'll probably decide that in February or March.
So no meeting in January.
Correct. I saw that it was on the calendar, but I don't think anybody was notified until right now.
So we need to change that on the calendar to the calendar. Okay, we appreciate all of the advisories. Old business, I see none. Let's move to new business and the update of the stump dump. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, we referenced a lot of it earlier during the comments section, but there was a news article that just came out that the governor has granted funding for the engineering work. It looks like they're going to be developing plans and cost estimates. I'm sure that come tomorrow there will be an update that will be posted to the city's website, which will give us a little bit more information. So hopefully I got it all right, but and hopefully the news agency that I read the article from got it all right, but we'll learn more tomorrow. Also in the board packet is the statement that Mayor Christie put out on the 17th. Once again, I encourage everybody to view the city's website for updates. They're posting updates on almost a daily basis. Also, there is a really good memo from December 16th, which talks about different options on how to extinguish a subterranean dump fire. I think they did a very good job of presenting the pros and cons of all those different types of ways to put out the fire. And then finally in the board packet, you'll see that Rick Eccles and the Lakes crew, they took water samples from Lake Ann and Lake Brittany to see if there was any concern regarding the impact of the Trafalgar Road fire, and there was none. We'll continue to do further testing to ensure that it doesn't change.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
And that testing is done by a separate company?
Yeah, we brought in, well, first of all, it was beyond our capability, so that's the main reason. We did not have the testing equipment required to do this, but we brought in Arkansas Analytics, I think it was. Yeah, Arkansas Analytical, and so we took the samples and sent them off. I think they were located in Little Rock.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, we'll look forward to future updates. Okay, is there anything else that for new business? If not, GM meeting for the month of January will be Monday the 14th at 1 o'clock. That is a change of date, so be sure you put that on your agenda. It is a closed meeting. The work session is Thursday the 17th at 9 o'clock here in the boardroom. It's certainly an open meeting. The regular board of directors meeting will be Thursday, January 24th at 6:30 here in the boardroom. And then they have the February dates there. Please make a comment.
For a lot of the residents that maybe this is the first time they've come to these meetings, or maybe first or second, the work sessions normally take place on the third Thursday of the month, and the this meeting normally takes place on the fourth Thursday. In November and December, because of the holidays in those 2 months, we move those meetings forward 1 week. For the other 10 months out of the year, they're on the third Thursday and the fourth Thursday. So just recognize that we'll be going back to our normal schedule. Also, there is a calendar that is available on the POA's website that you can see when all the different meetings take place.
Anything else for the good of the cause? If not, I would like to wish each and every one of you a very happy, safe holiday season and safe travels if you're going out of town. And if you're bringing company in, be sure you show them the amenities and see what we have here. So we appreciate you coming tonight. We thank you, and Merry Christmas to each of you.